back to Fall Into Watercolor. Today we're going to add cats to our drawing skills. So in the first lesson we did pumpkins, so we're going to piggyback off of that and we're going to do an illustration which will have the cat and the pumpkins. And then we're going to do a cool background with a circular moon and a night sky. So I just wanted to talk about the development of your cat character so you can make it your own. I went through and I looked at a bunch of cat illustrations and a lot of cat photography, and I just kind of found what I liked, and I just started trying different things like an oval head. The eyes close together. I finally settled on this semi-realistic shape here. That's of course very exaggerated. So again, we're using a lot of those curves. Now they're just on their side. For the pumpkin we were using the C and the backward C, so now it's more of a U shape we're using, and then a couple of little triangle shapes. And then eyes, you can do realistic eyes. You can do little slits for eyes like this. If you want your cat to be, depends if you want your cat to be happy or more fierce looking. You have to kind of decide that, and then you go from there with your facial expressions. I like the nose right in between the eyes, and then see, we could have a more angry cat. If we go a little straighter out, a little bit of a mischievous look there. Or you can just totally happy. You can even just do the nose and no mouth. And play with how you're slanting the eyes. It'll look more intense the slantier you get. You can add little lashes. You can thicken up this top line. So you can just play with that a lot to get your face that you like. For the body, I just stayed really simple and just went with the pumpkin shape again, and then did two like longer legs. And you could do these pointed, it's a stylistic thing, or you could do them more round at the toes, whichever you like. And then you can come out with the legs back here, and it's just kind of a squiggly line, and it depends how big you'd like those to be. And then you can add that head on. So like if you want to do the circle head, you could do like this. And do kind of a grumpy guy and just turn it down like that. And then you can throw his tail in there however you want. And I'm going to talk about a couple other things when I show you the actual illustration. You can make a furrier cat. So if you want him to be furrier, just kind of like this. You could, instead of like, you could draw your circle but then go back in and kind of erase and add little tufts of fur here and there. And then on the tail, you know, you could make it crazy furry like this, and the body. You could add little hints of fur. You don't have to go everywhere with the fur. And so there's a lot you can do to play with what the cat will look like. So when you're ready and you've created your drawing, you remember how to draw the pumpkins, draw a little layout of pumpkins, the cat on top or a cat peeking up over. You could just do a face with like the little tiny paws. So you could have a little pumpkin. Okay, here's a little pumpkin. And then you could just do the little paws peeking over like this, and then his face. Okay, so a lot you can do there. I recommend you go look at different cats and pick what speaks to you, what you like, so you'll end up liking your illustration. If you want to just follow along and copy mine, that's fine as well. I did that more like moon shape, and then I elongated the body. I didn't want mine to look, I wanted mine to look like a mature cat. So if you want it to look like a baby cat, you'd round everything a lot more and just make everything a little bit shorter. That's how you cutify anything, is kind of make it a lot rounder. Okay. So, and same thing on the face. This is a more cute face because the eyes and the nose line up. You could elongate the face. So do this. Do that same shape of face. But then you want to make it a little more mature looking. And this is a pretty narrow face, so you don't have a lot of wiggle room, but you can bring the nose down a bit and then have the mouth down there. And it'll make it look a little more mature and older. It's just like babies and adult humans. So the face is very round and all the little features are tiny and close together. And then as we age, things elongate a little bit. So that's the face and the body. So when you come to do your illustration, I just want to talk to you about this really quick. So composition. Rule of thirds is a good one to use. So that means you're cutting your paper into thirds vertically and horizontally. And where those points meet are going to be good places to put your center of interest. So like here, you know, I have an eye close to that, and then I have the body line along the thirds there on that side. And it doesn't have to be totally symmetrical. It makes it more interesting if it's not. But that's something you can keep in mind in like your horizon. See, my horizon basically is at about a third, maybe a little bit up from the third, but it's not right at half. So where the cat is standing is a little lower than half. And then when I was creating my composition, I want the cat to be center stage. So everything I did will point to the cat. So this moon behind the cat is gonna have contrast to make the cat stand out and really make the cat center stage. So that was my main tool right there. And then there'll be contrast. So this cat will be white and this moon will be, you know, yellowy orange. So that cat's really gonna stand out that way. I'm also gonna make the cat's eyes blue. So there's, you're using complementary colors. So you'll have the orange and the blue. So that's really gonna make those pop. Also, I've got a lot of things pointing to the cat. So not just this moon to spotlight it, but these stems are all pointing up toward the cat. So the pumpkins are directing toward the cat. Even though this pumpkin is going out this way, I still have it kind of coming back this way with the leaf and the stem there. Now, this would be an exception. The scarf is coming out in a way, but I think that's okay because I've got everything coming up and toward the cat, and this is such a strong focal point with the moon behind it. We're not going to get lost and people aren't going to fall off the page following the scarf because this is just such a strong center of interest. All right, so that's our drawing lesson, and we'll start in with the watercolor now. All right, so we are going to do a pretty heavy background. So, and what I mean by that is we're going to be using a lot of water to create this background. So I am going to tape my paper down. If I wasn't using a ton of water, I would just leave it, maybe tape the corners, but this will create a very nice frame for the picture as well. It's a nice finish to look at in the end. So just tape just barely into the paper, but I'll do about the same distance all the way around. So like I said, I'll make a nice frame. And make it as straight as I can. You can see through your masking tape a bit, so you can see that it's staying the same distance on the paper there. All right, so the first thing we're going to do once you have everything taped down is the background. And the reason that is in watercolor it's good to go with a plan because you can cover up a little bit but not very well. So you don't want things to start looking muddy. You want to keep that nice luminescent, transparent glow in your watercolor. So if we start with the background, then we let it dry, then we can start coming into the other things. If we were to do the other things and then come with the background, our background's darker, so it may start to bleed, and I really want to get this moonlight in so that I can see the values and everything for the cat. So what I'm going to do is wet the background, but I'm not going to wet anything I don't want to paint. So, there's a little paint in my brush still. That's going to be okay though. Just rinse it out. Okay, so we're just going to go around this moon first, because if I put the water on the moon right now, when I put the bluish black in the sky, it'll run into the moon, which I'm okay with a little. So continuing to wet the background, and again, not the moon part. It's okay if you go a little bit in there, but we're gonna go everywhere, and we're gonna go around the pumpkins and around the moon, so that around this little piece of scarf. And the scarf is gonna be fairly dark, so it's okay if it gets a little bit of this color on it, but I'm gonna try to keep it off of there. So for the background, we want a nice, bold, dark night sky. To get that, I will use some ultramarine. I'm gonna clean my palette here. I could use this purple, but I do not want to. So let's clear that out. Okay, so I'm gonna use some ultramarine and phthalo because they're very dark. Now they don't look that dark right there, but they do get dark in value. And I'm going to add some burnt sienna to that to muddy it up a bit. But muddy's the wrong word. You don't want mud in watercolor, but to make it more that neutral gray tone for the sky. And I do want some blue in there too, but you don't want it totally blue like a daytime sky. Okay. So when I'm happy with that, I will start to apply it to the wet paper. And the paper is still a little bit shiny there. Okay, I can just start to come across here. And if you're familiar with masking, you could mask this off so you don't have to paint around it. That's why I wet it, so that I have a little more working time. But if you mask this off, that moon off, you could just go over it and then take off the masking, and the moon would be white. So that's another way to do it. I kind of want these spirals around the moon a bit too, because of the glow of the moon. So that's another reason to just paint around it. Use a big brush, that way it goes faster too, and you'll keep a nice wash back there. And I would like some stars back there and stuff. You can drop some salt in there, or we can do some splatters, and I'm going to do some splatters in a minute. When that glow's about to go away, I'll do some splatters in there. And you want to keep moving, keep picking this up while it's wet, otherwise you're going to get a line in your beautiful background here. You want it to be smooth. And that's okay, I did that over the scarf. I'll fix that later. You can lift up some too if you need to. Not a big deal. Okay, just keep moving that around. And really the sky wouldn't be down here, but I'm just gonna pull it down here. We'll make some ground later. It's gonna be dark, so. Okay. So you really technically could stop painting your sky like around here if you want. This way, I'm leaving myself the ability to decide or change my mind on some things here. Okay. And I don't go into these tiny parts until I got all the way around on my smooth area. And that is because if I stop, this dries, and then when you go in, it'll look like you went in, it won't look smooth anymore. Okay. Now that's starting to dry, so we can, I'm going to take a round brush because it's just a little easier, and just dab in water. And you see how it starts to push the paint around? That'll give us some star effects, and if we want later, we could, drop in, let's say, a little orange or yellow onto those spaces as well. Okay. Okay, so while that is drying, and I see a couple little areas I need to get after, I'll grab those real quick. Okay. And you can go in, which is a damp brush, and you can lightly touch this, and then some shadow will come onto your moon, and you can crisp up that line a bit as well. Okay. And now I do want to put in that moon. So I want it to be really glowy, but orangish too, but transparent. So I'm gonna do some raw sienna with my pyro orange. And my pyro, if you have a transparent orange, that would be better. I just don't have that on this palette, but this will still look nice. I'm gonna go in and start wetting this up a bit here. Light wash here, and we can always darken this and add shadows to our moon too. And I'm barely touching this edge. I want to leave a bit of a glow there. Okay. And you can drop in some like yellow as you go about this, and let it mix on the paper like we did with the pumpkins. Okay, you make sure you're using plenty of water so it looks watercolory here. And I say that because my brush was drying up and it loses a bit of the magic if we have less water. Okay. And just experiment with that. There's no, I mean, there is like a formula in a way, but you just have to keep working with it and you'll get the hang of it. The amount of water, the key thing, watercolor. And then with this, we can go in, I kind of want to create blossoms on purpose. So I am going to put water because, you know, the moon is not perfectly smooth. And I want it to look like the moon with the little craters and all that good stuff. I don't want it to be too detailed because the moon is far away, but just like that, I'm going to leave that. And it's just fine, you know, it's not supposed to look realistic. It's a fun illustration, so these are just some fun techniques you can use. Okay, and now our cat, I'm going to let this all dry before I do anything to the cat. The cat's mostly going to stay white, but we will add some shadow because when something's white, it's still not it's not that jarring white. Okay, now we'll move down to the pumpkins. And we can use the same technique on them. Now that this blue background is dry, you can go in and be careful of the cat's tail if you had your tail overlap the pumpkins there. You can get everything wet. I'm going to actually switch to my bigger brush. Make sure I got all the blue out of it. And I just dip it in the water and then I squeeze it out on some paper towel or on a sponge. Either works great. There's a little bit of pigment on my pumpkin there, that's okay. And just really work that water into the paper. It'll give you a little more working time. Okay. All right, so now we can, I see right up here actually I splashed a little more water than I wanted to. I can just dab that up right there. And it'll look fine. We can fix that later if we need to. So now we will do the pumpkins here. And because it's a whimsical illustration, I'm not going to do all orange pumpkin, but we'll do orange in there. And I would like to put some pink in there. And then I am going to use some yellow a bit too. So I'll start dropping on some of that yellow all over. Because we got the moonlight glowing down on this thing, so orange, of course. And just, I'm not even putting much thought into it, honestly. I'm gonna probably at the top have it a little more yellow because that's what the moonlight will hit it, but right now I'm just dropping in colors, and we'll go back and detail it. But this is how you get that real watercolory look. You're not being picky or anything yet. You're just getting that nice wash in. And once I have this wash in, I will be a little bit mindful now of where shadow would be. So there'll be some shadow here where these pumpkins overlap each other. And so we could drop in some. You could take a little blue if you want. Kind of, like a purpley color. Push that back and you can go along the bottom of the pumpkins. Cool color, I'll push it back, and then the warm colors will bring it forward. This is the warmer purple, but it looks cool compared to this. So got that going on, and let that all dry. Now we could go in while that's drying and just make sure your brush is not wetter than the paper. So you wouldn't want to go with a sopping wet brush because your paper is starting to dry. So just make sure you're going in with more pigment than water on your brush right now. And you can start to add some details, like they're going to spread out though because it's wet. So see that? So if you don't want that look, don't do it now. But if you're okay with it doing that, go ahead and you can start adding some of these grooves and things into the pumpkin. Where that stem sits, get a little darker. Okay, same thing here. Okay, and back here would be a little bit darker. And you can come in with a damp brush, but again, not wetter than what you got. You can help stuff move if it didn't move as much as you wanted. Okay. Just really having a lot of fun with this. And I did get a little orange on that tail there, so I'll show you how we clean that up in this paw here too. No big deal. And now's a good time, I think, to set in your stem. I'm going to use some burnt sienna with this orange here, and because it will then sink down here into the pumpkin a bit. And just don't touch too much to the area that's wet if you don't want it to go way down in like this one did. I'll clean it up, but okay. And there's the stem. So to clean that up, you could just take a paper towel and you could pick up some of that brown there. Okay, no big deal. And then when this dries a little more, we'll clean up some of these other things. But look at how this is looking so far. And it's just it's fun. Lots of fun. And you can add a little texture to your pumpkins too if you want, like that, those drops or anything. You can do more splatter like we did in the last one, just for whimsy, you know. Kind of let it go up in the sky and on the moon. Try to keep it off the cat. You could cover it up with paper. Or... And so you see where it's wet, that the splatters are going to fan out more, and where it's not, they'll be little dots. And then if it went anywhere you don't want, you can kind of go like that, and we can clean it up. But wipe that up. There we go. Okay. Not a big deal. that. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry now, and we will come back and add a lot to the cat and some details. All right, now that everything's dry, we can go in and add some details. So I wanted to do a teal scarf, the blue and the orange contrast, and then the eyes are going to be blue as well. And when I do this, I don't want it like a solid color, so I will add, you know, something else while I move along here, making it look more watercolory. And see how this is darker than the moon, and then over here, if we want the ends of the scarf to pop out, we can either use a white pen, or we can make it darker. Like the fringe on the scarf can be very dark. The neighbor dogs are barking. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay. We'll let that dry, and then so the eyes, you want to keep some white, or you can go in with a white pen at the end, whichever's either. This is such a tiny drawing. We'll see what we can do, but I'll try to keep some white. But if I lose it, I don't sweat it. I just come back in with, oh, see, that one went away, with white pen. And I'm gonna let that dry. We can like lift a little bit out. So it's gonna be darker up by the lid. I think you can just add a touch of water and lift a touch out there. And then I always like rosy cheeks on my whimsical stuff. I think it makes it look a little more whimsical. So you can do all there, and then I usually go back with a very damp brush but clean, and I'll fan that out. And it went up into her eye too, which is fine because it would pick up the reflection. Okay. And then to shade white, I use like purple or blue, lavendery, but weak mix of it, nothing too dark. So just add more water, and you could go in and you could add a little bit of shading to him or her. And so it still reads as white. And up on the face a little bit. Under the eyes, around here. Just a little bit, nothing too crazy. And then you can do this leaf here. Now we don't really have a lot of green on here, so I'm not going to do green leaf. I'm going to go with like the autumn color leaf here. Okay. And then I'm seeing a spot I missed, so when that dries, I will have to get some blue in right there. I'll try to do that. So now I can go in and like make some of my stem details a little darker, and maybe add a little interest to them. They're pretty brown, so I'll just kind of add some more color to them. And just leaving since it's a cylinder, leaving parts lighter where like the moonlight would be hitting and stuff. Okay. Same thing on this one. And then I never did sit these down into the ground with the shadow, so I'm going with some like bluey purple color if you want. Give that all a sit. So it doesn't look like it's floating, unless you want it to be floating, and by all means, let it float. And I should probably actually even add some ground, so let me do that and then we'll do a shadow, because we'll make the ground kind of this color since it's nighttime. So just decide how high up you want your ground to be. And notice I don't want that to be a perfectly straight line. Oh, okay. And then we could throw the shadow on right now. So just go a little darker, maybe add some brown to that blue and purple mix again. But make sure it's a lot more paint than water. You could start to drop in some shadow. And if you need more, you can come back. Okay, and then let that dry. Now I want to get like really detailed. Oh, I gotta grab this other stem and do these pumpkins. Then we'll get really detailed on the cat. Jumping ahead of myself. I get excited to do the focal point there. So let's go in and just detail up our pumpkin a bit. And like where the tail is, you want it to have dark there so that tail will pop out even more. And then back here you want darker because this pumpkin overlaps that one. And then this one's behind. I'm cool with this ground kind of shadowing onto this. All right, and then here, I'm gonna get some yellow so that we can differentiate these pumpkins a little bit. Get a little darker where the cat's standing. Maybe a little darker down below here. Again, where this pumpkin's coming up. And I am moving my strokes here in the shape of the pumpkin, so that will help. Give it form. Okay. Again, right here, a little darker. Okay. I'm going to go add a little bit more to this stem up here. Okay. All right, we'll let that dry and then we'll do our final details on that. Now the cat, I'm going to actually use my pen for her eyes here and for her nose. So I want a thin line right here and get thicker back here. Okay. All right, and just a little more detail. And then over here, you can clean up that tail a bit. Just barely scrub and then dab at that. We can go over that in some white as well. No big deal. And I want to clean up some stuff here. The cat a little more defined. So this moon shape, I'm gonna go around the cat, but not, you know, like an outline. And then just damp brushing kind of. You can leave some of these as like texture for the moon. Okay, but real dark up next to the cat. It's gonna make her pop out more. And like leave that crater alone maybe. Just with the water, go around it again. Oh, I totally annihilated her tail over there. Excuse me. So we'll have to use like a Posca pen or something real quick. That's good I did that. I almost always do that on my videos where I mess up. I'd like to say it's on purpose, but it's good because then I can show you how to fix it, right? Okay. Okay. And then you could go back and kind of splatter the moon a bit if you want to. Again. All right, so now see she's popping out a little more there. We could add a little bit, say a shadow to her right here. And get a little that moon glow light on her as well. We're almost done. So just adding your details. A little shadow there. And you could, this scarf, you could like go in a little darker with the piece behind. Just kind of pop that back. And here, pop that back. And then these eyes, you can add it a little darker up top. Okay. Okay, and then we can come in with our paint pen. and fix these areas. And there's her tail. And I do need to just really quickly for this part. Okay, we can get that tail coming off of her body there. There we go. It's okay if some of this other color shows through, because I think that's good, because this is actually going back. And there we go. Okay, there's her tail. And where her feet got lost, you could come back as well. Anything. If you want to make the stars a little more prominent, you can do something like this. If you want to add like tassels to that scarf. Yeah. Stitching maybe. Okay, I mean anything you could. Oh, and then the dot in the eye. Okay. A little highlight on the stem there if you want. I don't like to do too much white, but you get the idea here. Just make this pop out a little more here. Okay. And there is our fun Halloweenish, well, more fall. This one's more fall. We're not quite to Halloween. This one's more fall. And I did say I wanted to show you how to add, like if you missed a spot, so just kind of soften this edge where the sky is a little bit by putting some water and rubbing that. And then just get a little more of that color that you made. You can pop that in there. I didn't make a very good match. Okay, let's see here. And we could go all the way across here. It's darker down here. Let me just get a wet brush and pull that up so that it blends in. Do that over here, add a little bit darker area. Be a little moodier over there. Okay, and then dry that again. Okay, and then just add paint pen again. I had a little swirly coming off of this pumpkin here. And you may have to go over it. Sometimes I notice it's not as opaque. There we go. Something like that, and you could add a couple to these other ones if you wanted. Like that. Okay. All right, and that is our illustration. If you want, I probably should do this. Let me do this again. Just go in a little bit darker here again so these pumpkins stand out from each other. Use a little bit of its complement. to separate these a little bit more. And it's not great to do a line like I just did. I can't help it sometimes. But you more want to be dabbing that out like that. If you're fast enough, the line won't hurt anything, but it's better not to get in that habit. I was already in that habit when I learned different, but so I'll have to be aware, but see how that now pops out more. And then we can do that same thing over on this guy. So here, I'll do it the right way. So dabbing it. Okay, and then just carry that up here. By the tail. I'm gonna just come in with a damp brush. Help that all blend out a bit. All right, and there you have a happy little fall illustration. Hope you enjoyed it and hope you'll tune in next week. Every once in a while I may have a bonus one in a week, but expect always one. Thanks again for stopping by. Appreciate it and enjoyed painting with you. Have a great day.